Welcome back to Rise and Shine viewers, and set with me at this time Mr. Martin George, well-known attorney at law, and he's here this morning, one of our commentators, favorite commentators, and he's here this morning with us to talk about the Sandals in Tobago project. But before we go into that, Mr. George, our former Prime Minister, Mr. Patrick Manning, former Prime Minister, deceased, has just been buried Saturday, quite recently. I give you a few seconds to give your thoughts, to the family.
All right. Okay. Well, certainly, I mean, we offer our condolences to the friends, family, well-wishers. In terms of, it's undeniable the contribution that Mr. Manning made both to political life and the development of Trinidad and Tobago, and we must always acknowledge and respect that. And I think that certainly he had a vision, and I think the waterfront is a testament to that vision, that he had to try to bring us to that developed nation status. So we must acknowledge, we must applaud, him for that, and we must certainly, give praise where praise is due. And I would certainly join the chorus in, singing those praises in relation to that. I mean, of course, he had his challenges, as with everybody else, but at the end of the day, one thing for sure that you've not ever heard anybody say is, he's never been, marked with the stain of any taint of allegations of corruption or anything of the sort. So, that's also a very good thing in politics in Trinidad and Tobago to have survived all those years, So, I think all in all, history definitely will be very, very kind to Mr. Manning, and, will be, glowing with praise for him.
Okay, thank you. I love those sentiments. I love those comments, Mr. George. Right, so let's go down to our story now, which is the Sandals in Tobago. What are your initial thoughts about the establishment of a Sandals hotel in Tobago?
Well, the point is, Eddie, Tobago needs brand name hotels. That's the reality. So whether it's Sandals or any other big brand name chain, you need that. Because first of all, the status of your island as a tourism destination is elevated once you have brand name hotels. Sandals is an internationally known brand. Their standards and reputation, it's par excellence, I mean, people know the quality that you get from a Sandals brand. So therefore, it's something that I would think that Tobago definitely needs. Of course, we don't know yet all the details, and I think this is where the THA and central government, I understand Dr. Rowley is now chairing the tourism sector initiative, but the point is, central government needs to level with the public, let us know what is going on, what are the plans, what are the details, even if it is that at this point they don't have all the details, which might very well be the case, which is why we're not hearing much. But then at least tell us that. Tell us, well, look, you are still in discussions, you're still in negotiations, but this is the initial thinking, this is what they were looking at. So that way you don't have all the misinformation that is flowing, and you see people run on the basis of misinformation, and then now they get all chained up and hyped up, based on wrong information. So I think we need to get the information, but I would say unquestionably, having a brand hotel like Sandals is always a plus for an island like Tobago. We need it. Let's face the reality. And I mean, as I'm speaking about misinformation, I was told by someone recently, they said, well, why are you supporting a foreign white man coming here to bring a hotel chain? And I said, the level of ignorance is amazing. First of all, I think some people don't even realize Sandals is a regional brand. It's a Jamaican company. That's right.
Company, yeah.
And Mr. Bud Stewart is not even a white man. Yeah. He's like what you call a mulatto kind of thing, So, that level of ignorance is really not helping the discussion or the debate. We need to understand, first of all, if you are supporting Sandals, you are supporting your own, because this is a Caribbean brand that has developed and it has now gained international recognition and excellence. They are a 4-diamond property, not just 5-star. They have gone past that. They are 4-diamond, resort. So therefore, you're talking, I mean, they raise the bar so high that everybody else has to start catching up, because sandals will just be so way ahead of everybody that, you know, they will realize that they're going to get left behind. So it's always a good thing to have a property like that on your island. There are people who will come simply for the fact that the Sandals is in Tobago. That's what you call resort tourism. It's something our leaders don't seem to understand. You know, when you talk about the Magdalena internationally, people are like, what's that? You know, they don't know that as an international brand. But you go almost anywhere in the world and they know Sandals, because people follow Sandals chains, you know. So they would go to St. Lucia, they will go to the Sandals there, then they will try the Sandals in Jamaica. So once they have that type of brand loyalty, then you put a Sandals in Tobago, automatically you have a market already. People will come to try the Sandals in Tobago because they are so familiar with the quality and standard of the brand that they will follow it everywhere it goes.
Yeah, what we are missing in the whole discourse is Dr. James's view, Dr. Vanessa James, you know, Business Buzz co-host there, who is out for some time now.
What is his view?
Well, we would have liked to hear his view.
I thought he had expressed a position on it.
No, initially, I remember him saying that he knew Butch Stewart since he was he had a chain of restaurants, I think.
Right, yes, in the early days, yes.
He delved into into the hotel chain. So
okay,
I would have really liked to hear, you know, Dr. James's views.
Yes, and the point is, Eddie, let me tell you, you know, I always welcome healthy, mature, level-headed discussion and debate on any issue, if you understand me. I always feel that, you know, we must listen to all points of view, but of course we must always be respectful in the way we make our points, and we must, you know, be willing to listen to what others have to say, and then at the end of the day you come to a consensus position, because one side can't feel that they have all the answers and the other side knows nothing, you know. So you balance it. I mean, you look at this situation, say for instance in Barbados, which is an island so way ahead of Tobago when it comes to the tourism game. I mean, they are at the top of their game in terms of knowing it. And you saw how desperate Barbados was to get Sandals on their island, even though they have so many, I mean, world-class properties. You have things like Sandy Lane and stuff like that, you know, but still, they saw the relevance and the importance of getting a Sandals in Barbados, even though, I mean, the front end of the deal is not very favorable to Barbados, but they have recognized that, look, this is a medium to long-term type of investment, and the benefits that will accrue to the island of having a Sandals, it far outweighs, you know, whatever concessions you have to give up front to secure them.
Okay, some people are saying that Sandals may consume the other hotels in Tobago to do services, you know, to do exclusivity, you know, offering other services. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, I am not following that logic. Some
people are saying that Sandals may consume other activities, hospitality activities, in that, well, I don't want to say what the people said, but they may go into other activities, you know, to complement, you know, the Sandals, their services. Activities that are done here, put in Tobago here are doing. And because of their brand, they may just, you know, consume the Tobago market.
Well, the point is, let me tell you, if you have Sandals come in, they are going to raise the bar. So if it means that they are able to do things better than others, then that's good. That's not a bad thing for Tobago, because all it means is that you now need to raise your level. You cannot remain down at the bottom, and because someone is doing better than you, you seek to pull them down to your level. No, what you need to do is now rise up so that you are on par with them. And that's what we need to understand here in Tobago. So therefore, when you talk about the quality of service, because tourism is a service industry, right? You watch the training that Sandals gives their employees. Oh my God, I wish every service person in Tobago got that type of training. We would be, just that alone would make a difference in our tourism product, because we need to understand that the fundamental of it is the quality of service, and Sandals understands that. They train their staff so impeccably. I mean, I could tell you, I mean, I've been a guest at several of their properties, so I know. And let me tell you, you are made to feel like a prince when you are there. You know, they treat you with such royal, lavish style. They are so courteous, they're so friendly, they anticipate your needs, what you may, you know, they keep, you know, a nice log, so that if it is that you like your coffee with, you know, 1 spoon of sugar and a little bit of milk, the next morning they know exactly, you know, they will say, good morning, Mr. Edwards, how are you? I know you like your coffee this way, and they will bring your coffee without you even asking. You know, that is what service is about. And I tell you, visitors remember that, and you know what? They will always come back, and they will tell all their friends and family, please come here, you would love it. And that's what tourism is about. You see, I've always said tourism is not a difficult concept, but we need to understand it. And in Tobago, we have not even begun to understand the concept of tourism. Tourism is a way of pleasantly separating a visitor from his money in a way that he enjoys the experience so much that he wants to come back again, and he will tell all his friends and family, come back again. He had such a good time. He may say, wow, boy, I'll spend money in Tobago, but it was the greatest vacation. I'm going back again next year. And that's what tourism is. You must give them that experience so that when they leave your island, all they're talking about is what a wonderful time they had. And that starts from the time they land at the airport. It starts with how they are treated at the airport. I tell you, Sandals has a system whereby they know which flight you are on, they know what time your plane is arriving, they have someone there to greet you, they have their limousine service or their shuttle service, you know. So from the time you land at the airport, right, you pass through customs, right, okay, you're a Sandals guest, okay, you go this way, right. Some airports, they have a hospitality suite, you know, where you sit in a little air-conditioned hospitality suite. They offer you something to eat. They offer you, you know. So from the minute you land, you are treated as royalty. And we need to understand in Tobago that that's what tourism is about. Because when people get that experience, don't care if they have to sell or mortgage their property at home, they will do that in order to come back for that same experience.
Wow. So are we going to learn that the hard way, or are we going to gradually, you know, gravitate towards giving service? And I ask this in the light of there was a fund that was set up by the former government to extend to hoteliers and guest house owners so that they can, you know, ramp up the quality of their plant. But this loan, I understood that I may not be that correct, but from the last conversation was, I think, 2 or 3 persons who had gained, you know, got that money to expand their plant.
Well, the thing is,
so the money lie there idle, and it gave an opportunity, you know, for when Sandals come, you know, it reached plants that were, you know, sort of top of the line. But now that, you know, everybody still want to expand and still want to modernize their plant, Sandals coming with this big new plant, what would it do?
Well, I'll tell you first of all, Eddie, even if you didn't have the money, then you have no excuse for not trying to raise the quality of service that you offer. So in other words, the Tobago hoteliers could start immediately in training and motivating their staff to upgrade the quality and standards of service. That is one of our fundamental problems in Tobago. And I'll tell you, service trumps facility any day in tourism. Because I'll tell you, even if your facility is not 100% up to par, if your service is so overwhelmingly excellent, you know, visitors might overlook a little thing that, you know, well, okay, the AC was giving some trouble, but, you know, the staff was so wonderful, you know, I was able to, because, listen, you see, human beings are human beings wherever you go in the world. And once you understand that, you could then begin to understand the fundamentals of tourism. You will meet people who are ignorant, people who are stupid, people who are aggressive, people who are rude, whatever, but then you'll meet very nice people in every corner of the world. And once you have that service quality, that's always your best start for tourism, because people will remember the people they interacted with more than the room, the physical, you know, aspect of the room or your hotel lobby or anything. So they will remember the people. They will say, hey, listen, that guy at the reception, man, he's wonderful. He was really, really helpful. You know, he went out of his way to help us. These are the things that visitors remember more than if you had a beautiful chandelier in your lobby. I can tell you that as a fact.
Well, Mr. George, we come back and we talk about that service part of it. Viewers, we go for a break and we continue talking about Sandals in Tobago with Mr. Martin George. Welcome back to Rise and Shine viewers. For those of you who have now joined us, Mr. Martin George is on set, and we are talking about the Sandals establishment of a Sandals hotel in Tobago. Mr. George, before we went for the break, we were talking about service. And coming to mind two distinct situations. I remember talking hotel with different people, service with different persons. And one said that the room developed the pipe works developed a leak, and the attendant, they reported it. The attendant brought a mop and in the mop bucket, left it somewhere where they can sit, and just informed them, here's the mop and the bucket. And there was another case with someone who told us that his room sprang a leak as well. The proprietor, his wife, but he came the night, he said it was in the night, and they came and they cleaned, they relocated him to another suite. They cleaned the room, and he completed his stay for free. Right. When he went to pay, they told him that, okay, because of what happened to you, we want to extend.
Now tell me something, Eddie. Of those two options, where would the visitor more likely come back to? If you understand me, let's be realistic. Yeah. Because, first of all, you would feel an affinity for these persons who were so kind and so generous and so understanding, and who understood the quality of service that a visitor is looking for, that you would say, hey, listen, I had a little incident, but those people were so nice, I'm going back there. I'm going to go back to their hotel. I'm going to tell my friends to go. And that is the key to what tourism is about. We need to understand that in Tobago. You see, we still have the type of backward thinking where we equate service with servitude. And you see, we harken back to the words of Dr. Eric Williams, the father of the nation, who said, you know, massa day done. So I see that a lot in the attitude you get from the Tobago staff, because they feel that by serving you, that is servitude. Service is not servitude. We need to knock that idea out of people's heads so that they understand that, look, to be a service professional, listen, that is something that is highly valued all around the world. You know, if you are a head waiter or a head, chef or whatever, you are highly paid in, various countries in the world. So people understand the value of that. So we need to change our thinking. We need to make a paradigm shift here in Tobago so that people understand that these service industries are things that are valuable professions, valuable careers, and we must take a different approach to it and understand that service is not servitude.
Yes, I always, sorry, I always like the positive stories, Mr. Toji. Anything I do, well, you do be. I always like the positive stories. And I don't know the guy's name, but I know in one of those chains, this worker was there. And one thing he tried to do was to remember as many people's names as foreigners' names. So when they came back, when they made a return visit, he would call them, "Hi, John."
Right.
And they would want to know
how Eddie, I will give you an example of that. I was staying at the Crown Towers Hotel in Australia. This is in Melbourne, in Australia. It's a 5-star property, really fantastic property. We checked in the afternoon. Do you know, by dinner time, I was greeted by the maitre d' at the restaurant, at the hotel's restaurant. "Good afternoon, Mr. George, how are you?" And I'm like, "Who's this?" these people are so on spot. They remember your name, they greet you by name. As I tell you, they remember your preferences, what type of wine you like, so the thing is, once you get that type of royal treatment, you will always come back, and that's the important thing. I mean, I was at the Burj Al Arab in Dubai. And that is a 7-star hotel. And the level of service.
I don't know, Mr. George, when you are finished, you tell us where you did.
Well, the level of service at that property, it is just, phenomenal. They greet you at the airport with a Rolls Royce stretch limousine. Yeah. You have white gloved chauffeur service bringing you to the hotel. You have your own private elevator to your floor. So you don't go in the general elevator. On each floor, there's a concierge. So you have a concierge just on your floor. So if you're on the 7th floor, there's a 7th floor concierge dealing with only the people on the 7th floor. So therefore, they know you by name. So your morning paper, everything they bring for you. So when people experience that level of service, then that's something that they will always remember, and they will always want to come back for that. It's phenomenal, that's the hotel where on the helipad, you remember when Tiger Woods stayed there, and he was there for the Dubai Golf Classic, and he wanted to practice, his putting. Do you know they transformed the helipad at the top of the hotel to a putting green for Tiger? They got the green carpet, they laid it out, and they created a putting green for Tiger Woods to practice on top there on the helipad. That's the level of service that these people go to, and we need to understand that. As I was walking into that hotel, I was like, wow, you all didn't see who that was? It was Magic Johnson. He was, just like a normal guest, and the hotel is of such a level that, not even the staff go running up to people like that for autographs or anything. So everybody's just, because it's such discreet, professional, quality service. And that's what people appreciate. Okay, there are 2 issues that I want you to touch on before we conclude. One is some critics, some persons, some commentators say that Dr. Rowley's involvement in this Sandals project, from a central government point of view, is that he may be usurping the authority of the THA, vis-a-vis the THA Act. The thing is, I don't accept that. I'll tell you why. When you are negotiating with an international hotel chain, it is a multinational company you are dealing with. So we need to understand that. So therefore, central government has to be involved. It's almost as if BP said they wanted to come and drill in Tobago. You can't say, well, look, let the THA alone handle that. This is a multinational you're dealing with. That's the reality. So therefore, central government must be involved. What they need to do, though, as I said at the start, is share more information so that the public is aware of the process, of the steps that are taking place. So therefore, there wouldn't be that level of ignorance and lack of understanding, even in terms of the location as to where it is ultimately to be. Okay, if we are to get a Sandals in Tobago, where are we going to locate it? You've heard talk of different sites, then you've heard no man's land and stuff like that. Now, the point is, we don't know exactly what are the plans, so that's why central government and the THA need to share that information. Even if it is supposed to be in an area around no man's land, let's remember, first of all, it may be possible to find a way to use part of the space without damaging the ecosystem, without creating an encumbrance in terms of locals who want to use the property, who want to enjoy the property. So there are ways that you can manage it and balance the use of it. You may get a scenario whereby you could get Sandals to create a special reserve project, say for instance for the mangroves and stuff like that down there, and then you can now develop that. Right? You look at something like Atlantis in Bahamas, how they have created this aquarium whereby, you have so many different types of species. So maybe that is something that Sandals could get involved in and extend that project. We have the Buku Reef Trust. They could probably get involved in contributing to that to help build back the ecosystem. So the point is, we must not just take this approach, well, we don't want them there. If it can be done in a way, if you get the EMA involved, you get the IMA involved, that's the Institute of Marine Affairs, you know, you get all these bodies involved so that they can monitor your plans and say, well, okay, yes, it can be done in this way such that you actually are able to preserve the ecosystem or enhance and improve your ecosystem while still allowing development. And remember, the original plan for that area when Angostura bought it. You see, we sometimes forget our history, and that's why it's important in Trinidad and Tobago to remember the history. That whole area, remember, the owner of that is Angostura. And Angostura's plan was for a 5-star hotel and marina right there, stretching all the way around to Buku. Their development plans started from in the no man's land area, going all the way around to Buku. I have the drawings. I have all the projections that they have. I have the whole booklet that Angostura did. So that was their project, and 5-star hotel, golf course, everything right in that area. That was the plan for Angostura. It's just that because of the collapse of CL Financial, you know, as a result of the world economic crisis, you know, those plans have gone on hold. But it's the very same property and the very same area that they were planning to develop. So the thing is, let's not look at it as if this is something just out of the blue that, you know, somebody is coming up with. There were already plans drawn up and laid out, you know, and there were plans for villas along the golf course, everything, even the Saman Grove development. That was the initial phase of it. Let's remember that. So the point is, I am 1,000% in support of those who say we have to preserve and protect the environment. I am fully on their side. I am saying, however, let us discuss the plans. Let us see what they have planned. Let us see if it's possible that the development can be done in a way that does not damage the ecosystem. And in fact, you can now use this as leverage to make sure you extract from the developer certain plans to enhance the ecosystem. So you could set up a conservatory, a nature conservatory, and say, look, Sandals, you must pay for that. That's your contribution to building up the ecosystem of Tobago. You get the Buku Reef Trust on board and say, Sandals, you must deposit $1 million US here in this Buku Reef Trust. Let us start, you know, getting back the corals and everything in the Buku Reef back to its natural splendor. So in other words, you play smart in terms of how you deal with the developer instead of taking the approach, well, we don't want them at all. Let us see if it's possible that we can find a win-win situation here.
What are we going to do? Okay, so what type of agreement do you think we should have in terms of the no man's land proper? You know, because that seems to be, you know, the concern of many no
Well, first of all, you must recognize that there might be international considerations in terms of treaties and, you know, guarantees in relation to no man's land. It is a protected space, so let's start with that. So therefore, in other words, any development that has to take place must recognize the first fundamental, which is that it is a protected space. It is something that, you know, by law, you cannot, you know, go in certain areas. You have to respect certain areas, certain parts of it. So the point is, it is something that you can do in terms of your development, but just respect the fact that, look, this is a fragile ecosystem and something that is near and dear to the hearts of many Tobagonians.
Okay. We have a few more minutes, Mr. George, and I want to talk about the wetlands area there. One commentator said the other day that the crab industry in Canaan Bonaccord may suffer by the location of this hotel in that area. Your thoughts? You see, crab and dumpling may come to $100 a plate because we might get less crab.
Okay, well, the thing is, what I would ask...
Do you think, as you were saying, the Sandals, maybe, just maybe, be able to create a crab farm?
What I would ask is, what are the fundamentals of the research that was done by that commentator to justify that comment? Because you see, unfortunately, Eddie, in Trinidad and Tobago, we've developed a practice of people speaking, and they have absolutely no facts to back up what they're saying. So if it is that the commentator has, you know, been able to do some research or has some study that was done which is verifiable and accurate, which can show that the crab industry is going to suffer as a result of sandals coming here to Tobago, then sure, let us look at the research and then let's try to find a solution. Because I could tell you there's a thriving crab industry right next to my home in Bacalet. People are there, you know, once it rains, people are there every night, you know, well, collecting crabs. So,
well, Mr. George, this could be the very reason why, because the lowlands area here where the Magdalena was on, there was a crab sanctuary as well.
Well, yes, but the point is, what I'm saying is that
when these areas, when these areas, you put hotels and you put commercial spaces on them, you know, there are no more crabs there, and hence the space that the crab is left to breed in is limited. And so, you know, people come and they catch them at younger. When you go to the market, you see some crabs that I think that we should have people going around and measuring those crabs and taking them away and let them or charge you or some kind of thing for those baby crabs.
But what I'm saying, Eddie, in terms of the mangrove, I am saying that we must respect that space. Sure. So you certainly are not going to allow development on the mangrove. You must respect that space so that you preserve that part of it. But I am saying that the area down there is fairly large and it may be possible. That's all I'm saying. We don't know for sure because we haven't seen the drawings, we haven't seen the plans that Sandals may have if it is that's the area they're using. But what I'm saying is it may be possible to have that type of development alongside your preservation of the ecosystem. And I ask Tobagonians, look at the drawings and the plans that Angus Stewart had. In other words, how would they have gotten their approvals? They would have had to go to the EMA, they would have had to go to the IMA to get approval. So in other words, let us see what they were thinking of. Is it that they were managing the development in such a way that it could have coexisted? Because that's what you're looking for, Eddie, at the end of the day. You see, you know, when you think of it, you know, the famous words of Rodney King, you know, can't we all just get along? Basically, that's what you're trying to find. You must try to find a middle ground, a solution where you balance the needs of the developer with the need to preserve the environment and to preserve the space for the benefit of Tobagonians. And I think that balance can be found if we are creative, if we are proactive, if we are mature and rational in our thinking rather than to go on an emotive rush, you know, because it's very easy for people to get carried away with the emotions. You know, it's like the whole folly that took place with saying that, you know, you're going to buy back Pigeon Point. You know, what has it benefited Tobagonians to have bought it back? You still have to pay to go in there. You know, you haven't seen any great improvement in the facilities or anything of the sort, but yet still the THA chained up everybody in Tobago. We go in and take back Pigeon Point, and you know, Tobagonians got charged up with that folly. And you spend hundreds of millions of dollars buying back a beach that you had access to anyhow, and you still have to pay except for the last Sunday in every month where they tell you you could go in for free. So what's the point? What have we achieved by that? So we really have to avoid getting carried away with the emotive, you know, arguments, and let's try to focus on logic, reason, and common sense. Let's listen to both sides, hear what the arguments are. If at the end of the day the logic does not persuade us, then we say so. We say no, in that case we don't want it. But the point is, before we even hear what the plans are, before we even see what the thing is, you have persons say no, well, no, we don't want that. So that, to my mind, is not the way for progress to take place. Progress can't take place in an environment where one side has closed the door to discussion. We must always have that opportunity to have reasonable, mature, level-headed discussions and then find solutions.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Always a pleasure.
George, always a pleasure. I can't have enough time to talk with you, right? But who is Walter Rodney?
Not Walter Rodney, Rodney King. Remember, he's the black man who was beaten in L.A. and that sparked the massive L.A. riots. Remember? He was a victim of police brutality. And remember, as a result of that, the whole place erupted in flames and riots and burning. And then he had to come out and speak to the people to try to quell the fighting and the rioting. And he said, can't we all just get along? Those are the famous words of Rodney King.
You know, somebody used to my ears, Walter Rodney. He was
Walter Rodney is the Guyanese historian, who was assassinated in Ghana.
Yes, you know, that's right. Just for young folks out there. But I want to thank you very much, Mr. George, for your contribution, and I know that you would come again as time progresses.
Yes, sure. I'll be happy to do so.
Because at this time we go for a break. When we return, we will have Mr. G and Daniel a concerned citizen on set, and he'll be talking about the Sandals in Tobago, and he would have raised some concerns on social media. I think he would have gotten hundreds of signatures of persons who, are against the project for one reason or the other. But he would be on set to do some explanation. We go for a break and return to you, Mr. Daniel.